What's happening today, people? I'm going to be talking about kind of like, it's quite a serious situation. So it's why the young black youths who are like second generation plumbers have not made it in it. That's what we're going to talk about. You know, I get it if you don't want to listen. I get it if you don't want to hear it, but we're here today and I'm going to talk about it. I don't care if it's uncomfortable. So some of the things I found out with this research, which is why the younger second generation black plumbers have not made it. Why? What's the reason? What reasons can we find? So one of the reasons I came across was systems and barriers what are in the trade. Yeah, systems and barriers. So there's a system of hierarchy when it comes to being employed and being in most corporations and most companies, right? So when you look at a company, yeah, you look at the tree of command. The tree of command is the people who work there and how they're situated, whether it's the CEO, the director, the supervisor, the chief, the health and safety person, yeah. All of these people play different roles within a company. And I've been asked this before, like, is there a fair mixture of people within the trade? The answer is always no. You know, I've been doing this trade for 20 years and I'm yet to see a black director of a plumbing company or any type of big plumbing company for that matter, which ain't me. Do you get it? So I had to do it for myself. So others maybe are seeing what I'm doing and say, oh, do you know what? That's something that I want to do for myself, because it takes one to make one. Do you get it? And I'm not trying to say there was never one before, but I'm trying to say I never seen any growing up. Again, I've tried to work for a lot of different companies and I've seen the people that work there. I can't tell you from this video that I've had a racist encounter with every single workplace that I've worked for during the time I've been working over 21 years. No, that's a lie. I have had quite a few, but I've always kept them private and kept them personal, because my experiences, what happened with me, are not the same things as what are going to happen with others. So I don't want to deter them by telling them like some super bad story and oh, this happened and that happened. But one day, eventually, you got to fucking talk about it. And this is the day where we're going to talk about it. It's not because I'm annoyed or angry. I just thought to myself, you know what? I've been getting a lot of good messages lately from people who have been listening to my lives and seeing that I'm just telling the reality, innit? I'm telling the truth. I'm telling just how it is. So lack of responsibilities and role models, yeah? That's the first thing we're going to look at when it comes to this. So there's many young black people, yeah, who don't see people like them in their workplace or doing the things what they want to do. So it doesn't always make us think that that's something that we can do. So initially in your head, you might say to yourself, you know what? I don't know no black plumbers. I don't know no black electricians. That's not really going to be something for me. And even if you do know some, just like any other man, whether they be whatever color, sometimes people are less approachable because they just might be like that. That might be their whole persona, is they're not so approachable to other people in comparison to other people. So role models are people who we look up to, right? So we look up to a lot of different role models in the black community, whether that be football players, whether that be musicians, whether that be people of influencers, right? So they come in different shapes and sizes, and they just because I am an influencer and I'm black and I'm a plumber, yeah, I'm not a role model for all black plumbers. Do you understand? I know that. I'm not stupid. Like, how I choose to deal with certain things and situations in life is not how the ideal black man must deal with something. It doesn't work like that. I deal with things how I feel accordingly to deal with them. It's not to do with anybody else. And I think that a lot of people will think to yourself, oh, you're a representation of how people should behave. No, I'm a representation of myself. I learned this a long time ago. I cannot represent a community. I can only represent myself. So us having more professional role models, yeah, is always going to look better for our community. And it's always going to allow people to see us in a different light, because someone can say, oh, have you heard of this person? He's a really good representative of someone who does plumbing, and they happen to be black, right? I say black because, I don't know, people are really, when it comes to your race and talking about it within construction and stuff like that, it's kind of like people don't want to talk about it, because I get it, people don't want to offend some people, but the reality is that we need to talk about the harsh conversations, because that's when you're able to bring some type of light to a situation, right? So another point which came up was basic discrimination, yeah? So let's look at it like this, yeah? I've always been told this from when I've been young, is that I've got to work 2 times harder than someone else to be seen, which has been a playing fact for my career for a very long time. So I'm not trying to say to anybody, and I've never said it to people, that I'm better than anybody else, or I'm 2 times better than a plumber than someone else. But it's harder to stand out in a room, yeah, when you look any different than anybody else. So the majority of people who I go to work with or have worked for when it comes to companies, they're predominantly white, of course, because I live in England. England is a predominantly white country, which I don't have any problem with. Again, I've represented Great Britain. I've done judo for England. We've done God Save the Queen and all that stuff loads of fucking times. So that doesn't bother me. You know, I'm quite proud to represent Great Britain in things like that. But when I go to a workplace, I understand that the eyes are on me a little bit more than they're on other people, because everyone else around the workplace is generally white. Generally, do I think that they're looking at me for my race? No, they're not, because they've seen black people before. But the difference is sometimes people have not seen black people in these working environments. Do you understand what I mean? So I have been at loads of different workplaces. I've sat back and I've listened to people, and I've listened to people say, they've questioned me, and I've been the supervisor. We've had 2 new guys come. They've questioned me about the person who is of black descent. So the person who is black, they've questioned me and said, oh, does he know what he's doing? Yeah, he's a plumber, innit? That's why you've asked him to come here, innit? But they wouldn't, and they haven't questioned me about the other fella who's come, who is olive skin, let's say, or he's white. Oh, Jay, does he know what he's doing? Well, yeah, innit? Why wouldn't he know what he's doing? He's a plumber again. So I try to use the same excuses or use the same answers to people and give them the same. Like, oh, okay, but you know he's a plumber, so why are you going to ask me if he knows what he's doing? He obviously does, unless you're taking some type of critiquement or you're pointing out something with that specific person. Do you have a question with that specific person? Do you want to ask them something technical or something where you want to question their knowledge or understanding if they know what they're talking about? Because that's the only thing that I would get onto someone about, which is if you know what you're talking about. And you know, like, that moves me on to my second point. Well, it's my third point, actually. So we've got systems and barriers within the trade. Systems and barriers within the trade is to do with young black British men not seeing people who are successful within the trade. They're not seeing loads of people like me. I could probably count the amount of black influencers who do plumbing, electrics, and all of that type of stuff, who are like in the UK, yeah? There's not many of us in it, but there's not many people doing the trade full stop, because people have got more sense. They're doing other things, Bitcoin, selling you fucking stuff online, innit? On TikTok and stuff like that. They're making sense out of it. They're making a business out of it. Sometimes what I've known is that this is always going to be a long haul. So when I mean long haul, I'm going to talk to you about that bit at the end. So let me not stray from my plan, because I've got a plan of how to read this to you. So we're going to talk about access to training and apprenticeships. So it's limited. We are limited with awards and guides for young people. So many young people, yeah, they might look at a possibility of higher level of education, especially being black, as university, trade jobs and stuff like that, yeah. Even of a whole, when I went to get my apprenticeship, yeah, it was hard for me to get, because you had to find a company before you went to college, right? You could find a college course to take you, but there are not many companies. Like, there's not many companies today that want to take on apprentices and training, and provide training for people, innit? Because you got to understand, this level of training someone up, yeah, you could, and this is just for anybody, you could train someone up and they could leave, they could fuck off and go wherever they want to someone else and make the money what you weren't going to give them. That's a reality. Black, white, Chinese, or anything. Anybody could do that. So I understand why it's probably harder for people to get into some type of training, or kind of like sell themselves to someone and say, do you know what? I am going to stay at this company. You've got my word. My word is everything. I'm definitely going to stay. I'm not going to go anywhere else. I want to be a plumber. I want to be an electrician. I want to be a carpenter. People chat shit. We all know that, innit? The employees chat shit as well. So why wouldn't you be chatting shit at some point? So looking at like a skilled entry job, like a career path for someone who is a young person, community wise, it's not always there. Like, my uncle was a plumber, and so was my other uncle, yeah? And I always had them as, what did I say to you earlier? As role models. So they're my role models from growing up. I'm seeing these young black men with money, with cars. My uncle always had a Saab. Shout out my uncle. Because the Saab, I always thought, was such a smooth car. And when I found out that Saabs make engines for planes, I thought, yeah, sick. So that's where that came from. But for me, like I said, I looked at them as role models. I didn't look at them as anything else. I looked at them as individuals who were mashing money, doing their thing. And why wouldn't I want something like that? Of course I would, because I could see the level of independence and where life is going. Who doesn't want a little bit of independence? You want to be able to pay your own bills, move like a boss, do some jobs, make some extra money on top of the work, or on top of the things what you have got already. So let's talk about my next point, which is my next point is to do with business and finances. Yeah. So why you're not seeing so many black young plumbers or black electricians is because of business and finance. Yeah. High costs to start up. So what do I mean by that? To start up a plumbing career, yeah, is high cost, period. It costs a lot of money to get on the course. Maybe your course might be running you anything from 7. I've seen people pay up to like 14 grand to get on a plumbing course. That's at a private training center. So the cost is very high just to get on the course. To actually get a van is a very high cost. Do you know how much people are stealing vans or stealing people's belongings inside vans? I personally do not leave any fucking tool, not even a spanner, in a van or a vehicle so it can get stolen from me. Every night, like church, we must go outside and take our tools inside our property, because someone is peeping out the window and they're looking to bust up your van at some point. Understand that that can happen to anybody. I don't wish that upon no tradesman in any trade, because when you lose your livelihood, when you lose those tools which pay you, which you've paid your bills with, which you've looked after for all this period of time, is devastating. Made a post about it. You can check it out later. But that's just an epidemic, what has been happening in London through and through to professional people, which is their vans and their livelihood have been taken away from them. Paying for things like insurance, public liability insurance, van insurance is no joke. You've got to make sure you've got your qualifications. You've got to keep reinvesting within yourself when it comes to being a tradesperson, to make sure that you've got the relative qualifications to meet the jobs and to be able to be up to the time. Understand that. And the up to the time thing is not a cartel thing. The up to the time thing is a life thing. Yeah. So you've got to stay on to all these things. And these things are just, they kind of wear you down at some point, innit? If you haven't got the money to start it, how the hell are you going to do it? Most of my money to start this company, what you see here, is my money. All of it is my money from where I've been working. Should have saved up to put some more towards a house or something, but I wanted a plumbing company. But there's times when I realized that self-investment is one of the best things that I can do for myself and to progress whatever I'm doing, right? I ain't gonna wait around, or I ain't gonna put my hand up and ask for some public grant. It's not because I look down at any of those things. I just know that what you borrow, you must give back. And if I've earned it myself, there's no giving it back to myself. There is the reinvestment. And I just understand that having a little self-mission, like me having a company and wanting to grow it from ground up to employees, to having insurance, making sure that we can become a household name. These are all processes and things which I'm going to go through, which I'm going to learn hella so much about myself. I'm going to learn things which I have wrong with myself, like flaws. Everybody's got flaws. The things you do best and the things you do the worst. You need to start practicing all of them, because they're going to change your perspective when it comes to you. Business, and me having this London Plumber business has taught me so much about myself. Whether I thought I was a good business person before, or I thought I was being due diligent before, it will make you check yourself before you wreck yourself. And before it goes down, you want to make sure that it goes up and you're able to turn it around, because that's what I set out to do. So that's one thing I will say, is the cost plays a big role. So investing in yourself, it just never stops, innit? It never stops with the courses. It never stops with if you're trying to build your company, you want to get people who are laborers, but you want to train them up. So you want to make sure that you're getting them the right type of cards which they need to be able to come on site with you. All of these things is a constant investment. Whether you're investing in uniform, again, uniform I feel is very necessary when you're out there, because the moment I had my own t-shirt which said Mr. London Plumber with my logo on it, which my cousin designed for me. So I'm keeping all my stuff black orientated, designer who done all this stuff. I felt proud about myself, innit? And I felt that there was just a new leaf or a new layer which has been peeled back for me when it comes to my own personal business. So it just made me feel it made me feel like Superman, man. I was ready to go out there. I now got my cape on, I'm ready, and I can say to myself, you know what? Even just looking at myself, I'm becoming a better representation of myself to be able to present towards people. I know people ain't judging me from the start. Don't be stupid, but you're judging yourself. Let's keep it real, innit? Who don't judge themselves would be silly. So the next thing I want to talk about, which is cultural professions and career choices. So generally, like in the Black British community, yeah, we think about jobs like, you know, which are going to be more likely to be more successful for us. So I'm going to talk about certain jobs here. So we're going to talk about footballers, musicians, or influencers are generally a lot more successful than like black plumbers and stuff. Don't get me wrong. There are many black plumbers out there who are British who are going to class themselves and say, we are successful, but success is down to yourself, yeah. So you have to define what the word success is to you, innit? Because it is something different to everybody else. I'm not trying to say, and I've not been saying that there is no successful black plumbers or electricians or whatever. There are most definitely, but we have a lack of role models within our own community for people to be able to put their hand up and say, yes, that's me, sir. Because success is measured within yourself, innit? It's subjective, just like music, innit? And we have a lot of struggle within our community as black people. So how we overcome that and empower each other is in different ways, you know, like we celebrate things and we have our own little awards, but we don't have our awards which commend those types of people within our industry. And even if we do, they're not talked about enough, if you get what I mean. They're not looked at as the same levels of someone like winning a MOBO or something like that, because that again is another black award, but you're not going to see like black business of the year or black trade business of the year. There are things like that out there, but there does need to be more of it. What we can do is we can inspire more role model stories. So I'm not talking about my own story because I ain't always the best role model. I know that for myself, innit? Because of some of the trials and tribulations, what you come through, you obviously become quite a bit of a transparent person with life and being honest, innit? And I think that that's what my own community respect. I respect honesty, innit? I respect and understand that every man doesn't make it, yeah? But there are a lot of people that have a story to tell, whether it's going to be a story of triumph or positiveness. It's a story which ideally has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And at some point, we want to motivate others who look like us and maybe understand the story a lot better than others, because the things young black men go through are definitely going to be different to the things young white men go through when it comes to being a plumber or being a tradesperson in England. We need more partnerships and programs for young black people to experience the trade. Most definitely, we need more workshops so it encourages young black men as well. I think that would always help. Supporting with finances and grants. So the cost of training and starting up a business, like I said, cost you a pretty penny, will bust up your bank. It might stop you from buying a flipping house. That's the truth. But if you had more courses or more grants which helped you get on them, I don't know how many there is out there. But again, like I said, I'm in my 30s, and even up to this time now, I wouldn't want to ask for money from somebody else in some type of grant or some type of, government scheme or something. I would rather not. It's not because of pride. It's just because of the things you have to go through. And I feel that some of us, yeah, you've been proving yourself your whole fucking life. You've been telling people that you're not late, and you've been showing them your phone and telling them the things what you do. And to constantly do that within life now, it's a jar. It pulls you down. It brings down your morale. I'll be honest, like the amount of times that I've had to prove myself in a working scenario and record what I'm doing to prove that I didn't do that and I do know what I'm doing, just to prove my point. It's like, I said in 2025, I'm not doing that. I'm not proving myself to you. I don't have to do that to you. I'm not going to. Not for your satisfaction and not for mine neither. You take my word for it. And because I heard you speak to John the other day like that, and he said, well, I didn't do it. And that was it. And he left it. But you want me to tell me, when you speak to me about the same scenario, I have to prove to you some type of evidence. Not doing it. not interested. If you don't want to hear it, you don't want to hear it. There's nothing that I can do about it. Again, taking a certain stance towards certain things will definitely change people's approach. But again, we got the internet now, innit? We've got a time and a space so we can meet up and talk to each other and also share information, which I think is a great thing as well. Challenges. What's this? Basic challenges with hiring and training. So to make more opportunities and make it more accessible. So that's something that we want to do for our younger generation. I'm going to take you for a quick memory lane. Yeah. So I do jobs in sometimes predominantly black areas. I do jobs in Tottenham. So I went to college in Tottenham. So Tottenham Tech, that's where I went to college. So I done a job on West Green Road. So it was an African and Caribbean shop. And this lady was like to me, I got her through a phone call through my uncle, who's a black plumber as well. That doesn't matter, but I'm just telling you for context. Right. She never met him before, but a friend of a friend gave the number, right? So he's not available. I'm available. I popped down there, went to go and see the job. And she goes, oh, it's so great that, like, you know, you're a young black man doing your thing and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really play into that when people say that to me, even if they are, this was another black woman who said this to me. And because, look, I'm just here to do a job at the end of the day, whether I was black, Asian or whatever, you would probably say the same thing, but twist it a little bit because you're trying to rub someone's back, you know, just, oh, yeah, it's so good that you do this and that. Look, that same lady didn't even pay me. So the honest thing about that is just that it don't matter like what color you are or something like that. We just want to be paid through people. And I'm just giving you clarity to tell you that your own people will bump you, whatever color you are, whether you're white, whether you're Indian, whether you get knockers in every community, and they play knock down ginger at any type of tradesperson, and it could happen to any of us. So making your community more aware of that and not falling for the traps is the things which I want to tell people to do. But again, you have to learn from your mistakes. I learned from my mistakes in a sense of I'm always still going to work for black people and be involved in black community groups, which are online on Facebook, which I'm very prevalent in. Again, I try to support businesses, which definitely are like mine and who would support mine as well. I think it's important. It builds our community at the end of the day. Everybody is not the same. I've had different instances with different people when it comes to work, and I know that they've not came across someone like myself before. I don't try to be difficult and become a problem or use my race as some type of card to get through, because for people that don't understand racism or why someone is racist towards someone, it is generally because of they feel that people are racist because they feel that another race is better than another race. I'm not telling you that the black race is the most successful, powerful, influential race in the world. You are due to believe whatever you feel like believing. If you feel like that, feel like that. But honestly, in society, you got to keep more times your opinions to yourself because nobody fucking cares. I don't care neither. I don't care to be able to speak about people's interactions with black men. You know, I've been to workplaces where people have told me, oh yeah, I used to get bullied by these black guys and I live in Wembley and blah, blah, blah. This was a 40-year-old man that told me this story. And what I took from the story was that you don't speak to many people who are black, and you wanted to vent to me about that situation, what have happened to you. It's fortunate that's happened to you, but you're 40 years old, big man. You forget over it. Or if you're not over it, seek some type of therapy, because living with trauma and carrying something around with you brings a burden to your shoulders, to any man or woman. So you got to get over things and not carry them with you. Because if I carried every experience with me to every single job where I felt I've been mistreated or disrespected, I wouldn't get any fucking jobs. I wouldn't get on with life at all, because I would have said that the trauma is killing me too much. And don't get me wrong, trauma does eat at your spine. It eats at your personality. It lets you kind of like become someone who maybe you're not. And if I was in any traumatic space about any of the things which have happened to me personally, I wouldn't have been able to make this video, because at no point am I aggressive in this video, because these are all things which I've learned and I've understood, and I've said to myself, you know what, this could help some other people, which is, there are some white people that are never going to come across racism in their life. They're never going to enter that field with people, or they're never going to know what it feels like to have that done to them. Like, I understand that a lot of young black men, they'll be treading on eggshells around a lot of white people. It's a fact, because you don't know how to deal with those people. You think those people are any different towards you, but the reality is that no one is any fucking different. We're all the fucking same. As much as we don't like to admit it, we are all the same. If somebody stabs you today, you're gonna bleed. If somebody shoots you today, you're going to bleed. Your guts are gonna fall out. You understand? It's simple. You're not going to be some superhero that all of a sudden he gets a shot and then boom, like you're just all okay. It doesn't work like that. So peeling back the layers of people and having the conversations which people don't want to have with their own staff or with people who they work with, which is those uncomfortable ones, like the one we're having right now. I'm sure there's certain things what I've said which would make people, trigger them to write something in the comment section like, oh, that's not true. I don't think that England's like this, or blah, blah, blah. People are telling stuff from their own experiences. I tell stuff from my own lived experiences. My own lived experiences is that I've worked inside colleges and I've been on something which is called Fixed Radio, which is a radio station which is for tradespeople. And they asked me some years ago, Jay, do you think that there is equality within the trade? I said, hell to the fucking no, boys. Don't be stupid. But it's okay if you want to hear a real one say it. I'll say it to you now. Hell to the no. Hell to the no, because of when I look at companies and you look at the tree of command, can you see anybody who looks like you? No. Is that going to encourage you to say that, do you know what, I want to work my way up to be a director or a chief of inspector or to be health and safety advisor of this company, if that's what you're doing at the moment? No, it's not going to encourage you, because what you can't see within your eyes when you open them, it feels like it's unreachable. Just deep it like that. Like, it's inspiring for a lot of young black people to see footballers who are black, because they might kick ball and they might say to themselves, nah, you see Raheem Sterling or you see blah, blah, blah. He's black, I can do it. And again, I just try and be the person who's got to this point and I'm able to be super transparent, because you're learning shit when you're at that point. You're not learning no shit when you're not at this point and you're not being able to have those uncomfortable conversations or tell people the reality of the truth. The reality of the truth is that this situation and the culture which we are in England is systemically racist, which is, it's just something you got to deal with, you know. I wouldn't say that it's super racist all over the country, but certain parts, like I wouldn't be working up north. That's not my thing. There's too much racism up north. Down south, it's more contained. But anytime that I hear that I'm working with a manager and they live out of London, like Kent, Surrey, all of these types of places, Leatherhead, all of that. We know what you're about. We ain't going to try and mix with you. We know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. So that's why when I hear things like, I heard a comment from a guy who lived in Leatherhead, and he was like, yeah, we was talking about a plumbing part. So there was, parts what you got to fix. This would do with a tap. Yeah. This tap was a European tap. It's a European company. Nothing's made in England. Like, let me just say that from now. So there's no manufacturers really that are worth anything getting stuff from that are made in England when it comes to plumbing, right? So we've got this part, and he goes to me, oh, it's all these foreign parts and all that. So I've looked at him and said, what did you say, Paul? Foreign parts? That's a weird thing to say. Like, the parts come from where they come from. Unless you make them, who else is going to provide them? Because we need them. And I thought, that was a bit unnecessary. But I saw that and I realized what type of person you are. I'll be real with you. These people won't change because of someone points them out and says, ain't that a bit racist what you said? They're going to continue with that because all of that was like testing the water for me, if you get what I mean. Like, can I say those types of things around Jay? Like, is he going to be offended? No, you're not going to offend me by saying something is foreign, because it's true. But why you say that, it wasn't necessary. But not the same person. There was a supervisor who was underneath that manager who was a QPR fan. And him being a QPR fan, I don't know if any of these guys or any people that watch my thing are football fans. A lot of football fans can tend to be, can have this racist streak in them. And he was a bald-headed man, fat boy, like, well, I shouldn't say fat boy, overweight, like type of guy, out of shape type of guy. And he gave me that aura about him, because we would never talk about race or nothing like that. But the moment I had a little problem, he said, oh, is this person being racist to you? And I said, no, he's definitely not. And when I said he's definitely not, I expected that person to drop it. But he specifically came in like a lightning bolt, like some Taylor Swift fan, and told me he's not racist. He's got black friends and he knows people. Look, he's got a friend on Facebook. I was like, whoa, I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you none of that. But these are the scenarios what happen, man. So I just like to tell people that it happens in loads of different ways. I'll tell you about the last one now, which is I worked with a black lady, and she told me that, Jay, your style, you sometimes can be a bit overwhelming and a bit like aggressive, or come across a bit aggressive. I was like, oh, okay, cool. What, to you or to somebody else? And she goes, no, not to me, but like maybe to your manager. Okay. So did he tell you that? Yeah, he told me that. So I called him straight away. I said, Tom, what's the problem, mate? He goes, we ain't got no problem. What's up? And I goes, well, Shanai said to me that you think that I'm aggressive towards you. So I didn't say that to you. So I confronted her. She didn't like it, obviously, innit? But the thing about me is that I will always deal with the problem there and then instead of go away and dwell on it, because when people try and play you in the middle of a situation, if you've got both two parties here, have it out with them straight away, because I've got nothing to hide. I don't come into anything like with any like malicious plans or plans to annoy people or plans to upset people, periodly. I don't. That's not my thing. I'm aware of that. We're all in a working space, so we all want to be respectful of each other, and that's hard to find as well, because you're always trying to prove yourself to a lot of these people. So finding the level of respect or finding some respect from these people, sometimes it's just not there, man. I don't search for it through none of these people because time and time again, I've been disrespected. And sometimes it's been towards my race and stuff like that. So what can you do, man? You can get over some of these things, but you can just have a different type of approach. Like I said to you, me as a young black man, I just know that any other young black male getting into the trade has got to be 2 times better than everybody else to be able to stand out within this industry. It's volatile. It's not for the faint-hearted. And like I said to you, your own people could trip you up or could put a spanner in your own works to benefit themselves. And that's just not because of we have black on black problems or so much problems in our own community. It's just because of the way how people are wired nowadays. People are wired nowadays to take, and it doesn't matter who they take from. Responsibilities or who it hurts, most people are not bothered. And as black cultural people, we're prideful people, hence why we are so vocal about our own community and the things that we go through. Like, I go through things like this, and I only at an adult age can I be able to comprehend, but also explain and share these things over serious content, because this is a serious conversation which I'm having with you. I'm never trying to put people off of getting into the trade. I'm just letting them know that it's not all rosy. Like, I can be honest with you guys and say that over my years of like going to properties and dealing with customers, rarely have I had a like racist encounter. Being in London, someone said, "Oh, you black," whatever, or said something what's blatantly like what I would knock them out for, basically. No, I can't tell you that that's happened to me. It's happened to me more within workplace situations where people are making out certain things, like when we had COVID, yeah, they had returning back to work. And on this form, which I was asked to sign for HR, they said, "What do you identify as?" And I put down, I identify as a stolen slave. They didn't like that. But guess what? Don't ask me my ethnicity, because it's not necessary for me to tell you my ethnicity if you know it. Do you get it? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it at all. Because what that workplace was saying, that black people were more susceptible to catch COVID than white people or any other person, which was just a weird thing for them to say on a form, which I felt I was disrespected because I was asked to sign that form. I said, Claire was the manager at the point, and you can, by the name, you can probably understand she's a white lady. But I said to her, like, someone could feel upset about this form which you're asking me to sign. She goes, "Oh, well, why is that?" Like, as if like you couldn't read. We're in an academic place, isn't it? I don't want to tell you the place where I used to work, but we're in an academic place, which is a university. And, but for you to ask me that, I feel like as if that was very disrespectful, man. So yeah, I put down the stolen slave, innit? I can do and say what I want, innit? Because I just move like that with people when they think that they can get one up on me or feel as if like they're disrespecting me. So there's many different ways how to deal with stuff, but I think more in the corporate world, we have no protection when it comes to what people will say and how they will treat you. We'll forever have a league of people who are also black inside the workplace as well, but they are the quickest people to throw you underneath the bus. Again, who you can trust is no one. Workplaces are their Call of Duty, basically, Black Ops version. So protect yourself, man. HR, all of these types of people, they're not here for us as a community. They're not here to make the workplace any better. Inclusion and development of the workplace has always been a area which most workplaces will never invest in. Some workplaces are doing better to make people feel included, but let's just keep it real, man. Always look at that tree of command of people and how they look and ask yourself, who the fuck are these people? Because they're no one who I know. No, I'm joking. You can say what you want at the end of the day. What I'm saying is just that to have a good understanding about a lot of these companies, you have to look into companies, and especially if you're giving your time and your effort and you feel like you want to grow, invest your time in looking into them and seeing how they support people like yourself, or if they have done ever before. Because you could be the first, but being the first to do something doesn't always mean that it's going to work, and doesn't always mean that they've got the right system in place to be able to support you. I'm not saying that any of the workplaces that I worked for didn't have the system, but I'm sure they wasn't ready to deal with me in a nutshell. And, you know, I've made videos about these companies and stuff, and it's not to take super digs at them. It's just to bring clarity through and through, which is these things can happen to anyone, man. It's an uncomfortable conversation for people to have with you, but when are you going to have it? You know, these things will be the reason why you get a mortgage or you don't get a mortgage, because they can keep on happening. It's like a cycling. It's like a door which keeps on opening and closing and opening and closing and opening and closing, opening and closing. In 2025, I'm working for a company and there is a guy who's making jokes. He's a supervisor. The guy who's making jokes to a technician who is African about being the juju man or black juju and stuff like that. And it's like, we're in a workplace, man. If you understand anything about that, like what's the reason to be bringing that up at work? Again, men joke about a lot of different things, yeah, but me personally, over the years, I've known not to make jokes about people's personal races, because your race you might take seriously, and a lot of people take pride within who they are, innit? Whether they've got you know, a bulldog on their shoulder, whether they've got a Jamaican flag, whether they represent India, or Asia, or China. Do you know what? Your religion and your culture and how you've grown up, a lot of people take pride in that. Whether they know the full implications of what their own people have done, whether it comes to history, that's not here nor there. What is here is that most people are here, and we've got to work with each other, whether you like it or not. You got to kind of get along. Your neighbours got to get along with you. You've got to get along with other people. I'm not always telling people to learn about other people's culture. I'm just letting people know that, you know, people ask you why you don't get somewhere when it comes to having a business, yeah? And I say that because I want to reiterate to you what the title of this video is. Why hasn't young black British second generation plumbers made it? They haven't made it because we've got systems and barriers within the trade, lack of resources and role models, yeah? We've also got access to training and apprenticeships, which is a big problem. We've got business and finances. We've got high startup cost of businesses, yeah? We have got lack of business mentors, yeah? So we need a lot more mentors when it comes to business, whether it comes to paying your bills, strategizing, how to do stuff. We don't have that. Cultural preferences and career choices. So cultural, yeah, it isn't like a cultural thing for someone to say, oh, you're going to get into plumbing because you're da-da-da-da-da-da. No. We have a lot of black businesses. Some of them tend to be hair salons, shops. Some people are black influencers. That is looked at more highly than someone doing like a skilled trade job like a plumber. So it brings that away from having those people. What we can do is we can try and get more role models. That's people like who can inspire people with their story. That's necessary. We need that because motivation is the key. We need more networking programs for black apprenticeships and black tradespeople. There are less of those. We need to try and find more of those. We need more financial support and grants. So I don't know who controls those types of things. Like I told you at the beginning of this message, which was I never went to anyone for any financial support or support in any type of way. I think that sometimes coming from the culture, the Caribbean culture, which I come from, which is the same as African and stuff like that, when you get to a certain age, yeah, people expect you to do your thing. Do you get it? If you ain't made it already, like, what are you doing? Like, don't get me wrong, there are sometimes a lot more support from different communities. I would definitely say that. Most of the people who have supported my journey, it wasn't about my race or about what I'm doing. They just liked what I'm doing, period. So they got with it. And that's how I built up a level of confidence, but also built myself to where I am today. I only tell you these stories to motivate others and to be able to let others know that the struggle's real, innit? The struggle's real for most people, but for young black people, it's very different. You know, like the last thing I want to tell you is that why we're not so successful as the second generation of black plumbers is because, you know, people have turned around and said to me, you know, you would be much more successful, Jay, if you changed your face to a white business person. You let them be the face of the business, but you still owned it. With the great words of Dr. Umar, I beg your pardon? No, I'm not doing that. If you don't like it, lump it. My people don't yam crumpet. You understand? That's why I'm going with the vibe of that. And don't get me wrong, people are due to their own opinion. I can take people saying things. Criticism is okay. Please do leave your comments below because this was a conversation for my younger black community, the young black males and the people that watch this. This video was a video for everybody, for people to have a little bit more understanding why people have not made it and the things which you go through. So we want to try and work with the things what we need, which is we need more role models. We need more people to show a good example. And we need people to be more clear and have platforms, networking events, and things people can attend and go to be able to seek that community. Because the community is out there. We're just quiet. We just don't like to talk too much, but we need you to talk and we need you to stand up. And if you enjoyed this live, which I just put together, I need you to subscribe because we've been talking for a minute. It's took me a long time to put something like this together because ultimately I do social media, but I still have to watch what I say because, you know, people will try it with you, innit? People can't cancel me because I'm not that guy. But people are scared to say stuff because they know it will upset people or it would ruffle people's feathers. Me? Don't care. I do not care. I just tell it how it is. We've had 55 minutes of the realest stuff you'll ever hear. So don't ever let somebody cloud your air or tell you that you can't do something because people have told me that before in my journey and look at me now, I'm still here. We're laughing in their face. Ha ha! Joker vibe. but I'm not a joker. But I want people to continue on with their journey and their mission to keep impacting and doing a great job. If you don't subscribe, you don't. But I need you to subscribe. So I'm going to tell you to subscribe again, because there will be no pop-ups in this video. Subscribe to this video. We've had 55 minutes. I'm breaking it down. Why we're not successful, or why we've not made it, because it wasn't about being successful. Everybody is successful in your own right. Don't ever let anybody take that away from you. Yeah? Look up, never look down. Yeah, you like that, innit? Some real talk you're getting from me. Anyway, subscribe, innit? Because we have 55 minutes of this. Subscribe to my channel.